Welcome, everyone, to this special February episode of Milk Minutes, brought to you by Healthy Starts Center for Urban Breastfeeding. I'm your host, Ashley Hall, Program Manager of the Center for Urban Breastfeeding, affectionately known as the CUB. The CUB is a Healthy Start initiative dedicated to bridging the gap in breastfeeding initiation for Black mothers and their babies in Allegheny County. We proudly offer telephone, virtual, and in-home support. For immediate lactation assistance, simply call our Latch line at 412-545-2022, option 1, to connect with a lactation professional within 20 minutes. As we honor both Heart Health Awareness Month and Black History Month this February, we're celebrating the strength of our hearts and the rich legacy of our community. These observances remind us the importance of nurturing not only our physical health, but also our cultural heritage, both of which are vital to the well-being of our families. Today, I am honored to welcome our guest, my friend Leta Scott. Leta is a dedicated breastfeeding mother, a passionate community health advocate, and a peer champion for PPC, and soon to be lactation professional. Her personal journey and community work perfectly embody the heart and heritage we both celebrate this month. Welcome, Leta.
Thank you for having me, Ashley. I'm excited.
I'm so happy that you're here. As I mentioned, you are my friend, and you have so much information to share with all of your breastfeeding experiences that I thought that this month would be a perfect month to highlight your breastfeeding experiences so that our viewers can learn from you and then also lean into your support through PBBC when needed.
Awesome. I love to answer questions about breastfeeding. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm ready for any all the questions that you have, and I will try to answer them honestly and professionally.
And that's what we need, a little bit of both. Just be as honest as possible. So, starting off with your personal journey and experience, can you share your breastfeeding journey and what inspired you to breastfeed?
Yes. So my breastfeeding journey actually started when I was pregnant with my oldest. He's 8 now. It started when I was I'm sorry, my
Was that
breastfed
him?
children are in the back. Yeah, that was one of them. They're in the background. So I was a daycare teacher, and I was in the infant room, and I had a student that came. Well, not student, but I had a little baby that came in, and his mom was breastfeeding him, so she would bring his milk in, and then I had a coworker who just had a baby, and she would go and nurse during her break time. So I got like what's the word? I got curious and I wanted to know more. So I would ask the mom, like, oh, so how do you store that? And like, how do you get so much? And like, she would tell me that she would just latch him at home, and then she would have an extra milk supply to bring in. And she preferred breast milk to formula because of its health benefits. And this was a white lady. And then the coworker was a young mom. She was like maybe 22, and she was a black lady, and she had never breastfed before. She never had anybody in her family show her how to breastfeed. She just wanted to do it because she heard the same things from the kid's mom that I was asking questions about. She had learned from her as well. So she was like, "Oh, well, when I have my baby, that's what I want to do." So that's why I was like, okay, so while I'm pregnant, I'm like, well, let me ask y'all all these questions to find out what I'm gonna do. Because when I have my baby, I want to breastfeed too. I want him to have all the best benefits. I want him to have the milk that came from me. I want to know what kind of milk my body can make. So I went in with that as, excuse me, I have my last breastfed baby asking me for things.
And that's
Yes, you can
okay.
have
As you were
this. Now,
sharing, the importance of just demonstrating and modeling breastfeeding. That's something that I heard, although that it was a student's mother who was breastfeeding, and that was the person who kind of introduced breastfeeding to you. So it just speaks about how powerful it is to just observe someone breastfeeding and how influential it is just from watching breastfeeding and how your
I was
curiosity,
fascinated.
yeah, and your
I was
curiosity
because I
really
had
led you.
never ever seen it done. Like nobody in my family had ever breastfed. My mom said she tried for like 2 days and she just gave up, and she was fine with that. And like it had never occurred to me that that was the thing that people still did. I just thought formula was the way now. And then I met them and was like, oh wait, let me try this because I want to see how that's like. So that's what started it.
Mhm. And then you were talking about your coworker.
Yeah, watching her nurse was really what made me go, oh, okay. So like you really just do this anywhere as soon as the baby's hungry? Like, yeah, well, how do you know when the baby's hungry? Well, the way that he cries. okay, so when my baby comes, he's gonna cry a certain way, and then I'm just gonna know to put him at my boobs, and then he's gonna drink. And she was like, yeah, pretty much. And then I had my baby, and it was not as simple as that. It was a little bit more challenging because I didn't know about like crying cues. I didn't know about the early warning signs. I didn't know about latching. I didn't know about the importance of like your positioning or like your level of stress and your comfort or discomfort. All of those things tie into what type of milk flow that you have. I had no idea with my first kid. So the journey wasn't as like succinct as with my younger two, but I didn't give up because it was difficult. I just kept going as long as I could.
Absolutely. And that was my next question was what were your biggest challenges when you first started breastfeeding? And then how did you overcome them? So you mentioned a lot of the challenges. How did you overcome them with your first?
With my first, I wouldn't say necessarily that I overcame them so much as I ended up pregnant again. And your milk naturally starts to deplete for the baby that you're currently feeding to prepare for your next baby. So by the time he was 6 months old, I had to wean him because there was no more milk left for him. So I weaned him on formula, on breastfeeding formula. Similac has a whole bunch of different ones, and one of them is like for breastfed babies. So I weaned him on that formula, and I started learning more so I could prepare for my next baby that was coming. And I made sure to ask at the once I had the delivery done, I was in there and trying to figure out what to do with him. Can I have a lactation consultant or somebody to come in and talk to me about how to do this so that I don't make the same mistakes that I made the first time because I really want to go longer than 6 months.
Right.
And my lactation consultant was Ngazi Tibbs. We all know how great Ngazi is. So
Amazing.
she came to my house. She
Absolutely
showed me what
amazing.
to do. I kept an open line of communication with her, and he breastfed till he was 3. And if it wasn't for like school and stuff, he probably would still be trying to breastfeed now. But it was a different experience because I had that extra layer of support. I knew what questions to ask and I knew how to be more vulnerable about what my challenges were. The first time I was a little embarrassed. I didn't want to tell nobody I don't know what I'm doing because I was so
Oh,
excited
yes.
to get into it. So when I couldn't do it well, I just kept it to myself. So this next time I was like, no, I'm not going to be able to do this if I don't ask for somebody's help. And it just so happened that it was Ngazi who came to my rescue. And the rest is pretty much history.
The rest is history. But you did mention a very important part was is being vulnerable and sharing those challenges that you're having and asking for help.
I think that's the thing that a lot of moms get intimidated by is you feel like, oh well, my body's naturally supposed to do this, and if it
Mhm.
doesn't do it right away, then you feel like there's something wrong with you and you don't want to say anything. But it's those moments when you lean in to lactation consultants, to other family members, to the cub, to like anybody that you can that is available to just share what you're dealing with and just see what happens. Like you won't know unless you put it out there.
Absolutely. And with that support, you're going to be able to achieve great things. So thinking about your first experience and also with your second child, was there a moment in your journey when you felt especially proud or empowered as you were breastfeeding?
Yes. So when I got past 6 months with Ian, I was like, okay, we in here now. We're doing this. And then when I
Yes.
started to notice that I don't have the same issues with certain stuff, like I don't have to carry a really big, heavy baby bag because I am the food. So I don't have to like pack a whole bunch of bottles, a whole bunch of formula. I don't got to worry about water being purified and all this stuff because I'm already on the go carrying what I need. I just need a space to sit down and maybe I need a covering depending on where I'm at. But my kids didn't like being covered, so that was kind of like done before it started for real, for real. So I just had to get over that. But the proudest moment for me really was going past that 6 month mark, and then it like doubled over when I started to do it so often that people would ask me questions, and then I have answers for them. Whether those were questions like, "Oh, well, how did you do this?" or "How do you keep this going?" or "When you gonna get that baby off your boob?" Like either way, like I
Yeah.
had and like a real response for it. I could tell people that were like on the side of you've been breastfeeding too long. Well, no, it's up to him and it's up to me when we stop. And in other countries, people breastfeed till they're like 5, 6 years old. So it's only in America that we're rushing folks off of this natural nutrition. And then I would like shut up people like my dad, my uncles, like just haters, naysayers, or whatever. I would give them actual information and then they just stop asking me. And then when somebody would ask because they seen that I was a member of the Cub on Facebook or something, and I've known them from like my past life, and they have a baby now, like, oh, well, I saw that you were on this group and I didn't know anybody else, but I knew you. Can you help me with this? And then I could actually help them. And then they call back later, like, oh my gosh, your advice was good. And now I'm doing this thing. And I'm like, oh, snap. So I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so
Yes,
that was
yes, yes.
that was like a really it's an ongoing proud moment because I still get to do that now, even though I'm not breastfeeding anymore.
Yeah, but those are huge milestones. And like you said, reaching that 6 month point and then keep going until whenever he felt like he was done, that is a huge accomplishment. And then also, you mentioned whenever the duration of breastfeeding was challenged by family members and naysayers, you were able to just say exactly what it is that you're going to do. And even if they gave pushback, you encouraged breastfeeding for your child and followed through. Amazing, amazing. So moving along, how has breastfeeding benefited you and your baby physically and emotionally?
So I'm gonna start with me first because what I
Okay.
didn't know about breastfeeding is the oxytocin. That was something new that I
Mm,
found out while I was learning. And I have challenges with my mental health. I'm neurodivergent. I didn't always know what was going on with me, but I would always notice that whenever I was nursing, it will calm me down a little bit more and I'd be able to articulate my feelings a little bit better. I would notice, especially when my mom passed, I was nursing Ian, he's 7 now, but when she passed, I was, oh no, that's Jacob. See, I got three, so I'd be forgetting which one is which, but it was Jacob that I was nursing at the time. But I did notice whenever I would be really sad or I'd get teary eyed and stuff, if I was
mhm.
nursing him, then my feelings would start to to calm down and I would be able to again to articulate how I was feeling and I could sit in my feelings and my emotions without them overtaking me. So that was something that I feel like if it wasn't for breastfeeding, I might not have had in the same way because that skin to skin contact really does do something to you and for baby when you're both together and you're able to be in that calm shared space. It relaxes the baby, it relaxes you. You can take naps. If you've never napped before, a breastfeeding nap was like the best nap you'll ever have. Like it's amazing. And it also helped me be more mindful about what I was eating and what I was drinking because I knew that anything that I'm putting in me is going into them. And that kind of trickled over into how it helped them. So my kids are not they're picky, but they're not picky. Like they'll eat vegetables like asparagus or like Brussels sprouts or stuff that most kids their age don't really eat or tend to like shy away from. But I feel like that's because they were getting what I like to eat while they were nursing. So that opened up their palate a little bit more. They all have, I would say, like a reasonably healthy attachment to me. Like they know to come to me or know that they can come to me when they need something, and they also know when to like, all right, so mom said that's enough, so like let me go on and be someplace else. And there's not as much, there's still a challenge, like they're still kids, so they're not like super kids or whatever, but there's not as much of a challenge when it comes to trying to like communicate with them outside of me learning to regulate my emotions. But I'm able to do that and then model that in a way that keeps us from crashing out. So it helps them with that. And I've noticed that they're pretty smart. Like I like all of them were able to like dress themselves by two, and like they're like they have like abstract thinking skills that I don't see in other kids very often. But when I do see it, that baby was also breastfed. So like, oh, okay, crew, I see you. So it's I feel like the extra time that they spent breastfeeding Philip and Jacob, they
Mhm.
both went 3.5 years a piece. So all of that extra time that the naysayers were talking about, it gave them an extra advantage for like their critical thinking skills and like their ability to use their fine motor skills in ways that maybe they might not have if they were just formula fit. But I can't say for sure that it was the breastfeeding, but I didn't do anything extra to add to it. I just fed them breast milk and then let them go and see what they can do. They can do a lot. So
And they're amazing. They are definitely amazing. They're not peeking in the background right now, but they were
oh no, they're
peeking a little
upstairs
bit.
arguing right now. Yeah, there's a Lego argument happening, I think.
Well, that we might have to intervene in a little bit. But you hit on so many important points too. As you mentioned, how it benefited your mental health when you were going through a loss too, and then just that oxytocin, which we all know is the love hormone that was released during those nursing and cuddling sessions, and how beneficial it was for you. And then thinking about your children's cognitive development and how breastfeeding has improved or we suspect has improved. But so amazing, so amazing. Um, moving along because I have so many questions, but you are so good at sharing your experience that I don't really have to follow these questions. But my next question, just keeping in line with our heart health awareness month. Breastfeeding has been shown to support heart health in mothers by reducing the risk of high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. Has breastfeeding played an overall role in your wellness journey?
I would say so. So when I was pregnant with Ian, that's my second born, I ended up with preeclampsia. And
Mm.
I didn't know anything about preeclampsia until after I was diagnosed with it. But what I found out was breastfeeding can like help with me being cognitive of what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, that on its own will help with like starting to manage your blood pressure better. But it also puts me in a mindset of wanting to keep up with doctor's visits and check my blood pressure regularly because I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm in the hospital and I can't get to my baby to breastfeed. And my kids were not bottle breastfed kids. They wanted straight out the tap. So I couldn't just leave somebody with my kids and expect them to drink while I was gone because I would just waste the milk. It was ridiculous. So like just learning how to take better care of myself so that I'm always able to be there for them was one thing. And then after I got more information about what preeclampsia is and how it starts, and I was more mindful of my blood pressure. And then finding out that if I was to be preeclamptic again, that could cause complications for my next pregnancy. I was more mindful of that when I had my third pregnancy, on what I was eating, what I was drinking, what my stress levels were, so
Mm-hmm.
that I could keep from getting preeclampsia twice, because preeclampsia is not fun. It's really painful. I had so many sleepless nights and I didn't know why, because it feels like heartburn that won't go away, and then you can't lay down, and then you can't like move your body a certain way because everything hurts. And I didn't want that to happen twice. So I was more mindful of what to do for myself. And I still did end up with a little bit of high blood pressure. And they were watching me for preeclampsia. But because I was knowledgeable about what it was, it also helped me while I was in the hospital with them. Sometimes doctors won't give you the information that you need, or like they won't say the thing that you need to know about something. And me knowing from the previous experience helped me advocate for myself when I was in the hospital, so that they weren't keeping me longer than I needed to be there, or they weren't trying to make me take something that might disrupt my breastfeeding or anything. So I made sure I was able to advocate for myself. And I don't think I would have been able to if I hadn't gone through the experience the first time. But now I'm able to like say that, or to tell other moms to like look out for this, or be careful with what you're eating or with your stress levels. Don't be putting yourself through too much while you're pregnant, because those things can cause you to have adverse health conditions that affect your heart health. So it I had to get it to be able to get it and understand it to help somebody else. But
Right, right. And to help other people. And just thinking about your previous experiences, how did you prioritize self-care, your self-care?
the body keeps the score. So it happened because my body said, okay, so guess what you're going to do now? You're going to sit here, and you're going to sit here for a few days because you didn't listen. So I didn't prioritize it on purpose.
Hmm.
I was maxing myself out, and then ended up staying at extended visits at McGee. That was like my vacation spot when I was pregnant with Jacob. I was always at McGee, and they wouldn't let me leave until my blood pressure got down to at least like 149 over like 80. And then they would let me go home, and then I still have to monitor it and keep track of it. And then they call me every other day, like, okay, so what's your blood pressure reading today? So it was forced. It wasn't
Yeah.
prioritized. But now it's prioritized because now they're all up and active, and I don't want heart attacks or to not be here before they graduate and stuff. So I'm learning to take better care of myself so I can be here for them.
Yes, yes. Well, thinking about your experiences, and although, life encouraged you to sit down and prioritize your self-care through hospital visits, for our new mothers or those who are just are pregnant, what are some advice that you would give them for prioritizing their self-care?
I'll repeat again, the body keeps the score. So if you
Which is
don't pay
what?
attention, well, that it's a book. It's a book by I'm gonna mess this guy's name up. Kessel Vanderkirk. Somebody, he wrote
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
book about how your body will tell you with cues, with like pains, with different feelings, that you need to like look into taking better care of yourself. And when you ignore those cues, because oh, ain't nothing wrong with me, this is a headache, or oh, my
Right.
back is just hurting for whatever reason, or oh, I'm just sad for whatever reason, and you don't pay attention to it, it will keep reminding you in all the other ways that it can. So you'll start to shut down. Like you'll get fatigue, you'll get pain, you'll get like muscle cramps, you'll get all of these things. They're like, if you don't sit down, I'm going to cut off. So like your body will tell you, but you have to be willing to listen. So often, especially for moms, especially Black moms, and especially single moms, we have this idea that we got to keep going. We got to keep going. We can't stop for a second. We can't rest. We can't relax. There's too much to be done. And yeah, there's stuff to be done, but there's also another day. So calm down, take yourself into consideration first, because you can't pour into anybody with an empty cup, and you can't save somebody if you're also dying. So you have to be able to take care of yourself first to be able to take care of anybody, whether that's your kids, your spouse, your coworkers, or whoever you have going on that you put before you. If you keep putting things before you, you're not going to be able to do those other things. So make sure you prioritize your personal self-care first, whatever that looks like for you. You have to put you first. It's not selfish. It's like saving. It will save lives if you put yourself first so that you can take care of the people around you.
That was very powerful. It will save lives. Putting yourself first will save lives, including your own. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Um, so we talked about the benefits, but were there any other unexpected benefits that you weren't quite thinking?
So I was not expecting how much money I would save by not buying bottles, because bottles are really expensive for no reason, and they have so many different kinds, so many different types of like nipples and like the closures and all this stuff. If you're nursing and you're able to get a good latch, you're able to get a good system going with you and your kid, you never have to worry about that because you're
Saving
already
money.
you're saving money doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I already
yeah.
mentioned the not having as heavy of a baby bag to carry because I wasn't carrying so many extra things with me. I mentioned the like my kids having eating habits that are like more
Mhm,
palatable and easier for me to deal with, because I've met a lot of kids, and I used to do daycare for like 10 years before I ever did any social work, anything like that. So I've met kids that won't eat anything but two things, and that's it, for like years and years and years. So if you are breastfeeding and you have like a healthy appetite of your own, that will help your kids eat more foods and help you be able to introduce more foods to them with less of a pushback.
mhm.
What else? I didn't expect that my periods would be lighter. I didn't expect that I would stop having cramps, because like the feeling of nursing is kind of similar to like having like cramps and stuff. And like if you're doing it enough, then it kind of like you get used to certain feelings, so they don't feel as
Intense.
dramatic.
Yeah, yeah.
What else didn't I expect? I didn't expect to like it as much. And I didn't expect it to open up an avenue for like different types of jobs or different types of ways to support people. Like it's a whole world that I didn't know existed until I started breastfeeding on my own. There's a whole community of people. There's a whole like lane of education that I didn't know about. I'm trying to, was there anything else? I can't think of anything else, but that saving money on formula and bottles, especially during COVID. Like I did not have to worry about a formula shortage because I wasn't using formula. And not to knock anybody who does, because like everybody's circumstance is different. But
Mhm.
if you're able to latch and keep your baby nursing, then it's a blessing when like the world around you doesn't have the means to support the other needs that you have. Like you can still feed your baby. As long as you can feed yourself, you can feed your baby.
Absolutely. And you did mention just the importance of having, well, once being supported and then becoming the supporter. Just thinking about, you said that Ngazi, she was the one that helped you initially with your first pregnancy. What other kind of
I,
support system did you have that impacted your experience?
So aside from Ngazi, and it was so funny because Ngazi and Healthy Start were like 2 weeks behind each other. Ngazi came first, showed me how to latch my baby, and then my community health worker from Healthy Start that I didn't even know I signed up for came and started like seeing me every 2 weeks, and then we
Mhm,
started talking about like all of the things that I was dealing with, because I had my first and second born are 3 days apart, so I had them like back to back, and I
mhm.
was in postpartum depression. I didn't really want to be a parent. I didn't really know what to do with my anything. So the next set of support came from Healthy Start, and that again opened up a lane of education for me that I didn't know existed. And once I had that door open, I had that key. I was able to like unlock so many things for myself, for my family, for my goals, just by virtue of being in need of support. And from there, like the community that came through the Pittsburgh Black Breastfeeding Circle, I have like real life friends now that
Mhm.
I would have never gone out and met them on my own. But because I was in this community of people and we share all of these different experiences, we've been able to develop relationships. So now I'm not as afraid to ask for help if I need help. I still don't really, I try to figure everything out on my own if I can, but I know if I can't, there's somebody I can ask and they're going to give me a real answer. So I lean more into that now. What other supports that also opened up me being more intentional about my mental health care and like going to professionals. So now I know where to go for a good therapist and I can redirect people for that as well. It just it opened up a new part of me that I didn't know was there.
That's
And
beautiful.
I can't close it back up now. So it's
And
out.
now your hair is pouring it into everyone else around you, though. That's so beautiful. And you mentioned that you're a peer champion. How did that come and how did that happen?
That really just happened from something similar to this. So, like, when you give me an opportunity to open my mouth and start answering questions, then I start saying stuff. Then people go, "Oh, hey, can you do this thing?" Or I think you would be good for this thing. And Ngazi was like, "I think you should train to be a peer champion." And I said, "Okay." I didn't even know what she was talking about for real at first, but it was just a reason for me to get out the house and to have something else to do besides just being a stay-at-home mom, like all day, every day. So it really just came about from me being willing to share and wanting to learn.
Yeah, yeah. And we're all very grateful that you took that opportunity and that you are the type of person that just will lean right in whenever opportunity presents itself. How can our viewers get in contact with you since you are a peer champion? Or what are some ways that they can receive some of this knowledge from you on an ongoing basis?
So I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram just regularly. It's just my name, Leta Scott. Well, actually, my Facebook name is now Leta Lee Davis. But my the Pittsburgh Black Breastfeeding Circle has their own group, and I'm one
Mhm.
of the admins of the group. So you can like tag me or at me if you want to talk to me directly. You can inbox me, and I'll respond. Like I'm not always quick because life be life, and I got three boys, and they move all over the place. They zoom. So in between that, I will see that I have messages, and if you ever have a question and you want to you want to answer from me directly, just ask. Like, just find me on Facebook. My face looks pretty much like this right here on the screen. So like I'm easy to find, or you could just go to the breastfeeding circle page on its own and then just ask a question. And I'm usually the person who approves the questions anyway. So if I see a question and it's something that I can answer, then I'll be the one to answer it. I only don't answer questions if somebody has already answered it and said what I was going to say, or it's a question that Ngazi is like, well, wait, let's wait a second and let's see who else wants to answer this first. But if it's something that I can answer or that I have the share for and I got to it first, then I'll answer as well there.
Excellent, excellent. That's really great to hear that you'll be able to get to those questions whenever our viewers have them. And as we conclude, because time is just it's moving so quickly, and I know you have those boys waiting for you. My last question is, what words of encouragement would you have for breastfeeding mothers?
Our bodies are amazing. Our bodies and our babies' bodies, when put together, do this incredible thing where they make food and it will keep coming if you trust your body and trust your baby. And don't worry so much about the hype. Don't worry about like people will say, oh, well, I need to get this drink or I need to eat these cookies or I need to have this tea. No, you don't. That's all gimmicks. Like all you need to do is have the time and the space and the opportunity for you and your baby to have skin to skin contact and for you to latch your baby on, and you will have milk until you don't want to have milk anymore. If you are willing and able to trust your body, lean into the supports that are available. The Cub is there, the Healthy Start on its own is there, the Pittsburgh Black Breastfeeding Circle is there. We're here. Like there are people in this city right now waiting to love on you and help you be able to feed your baby. So don't be scared. Just ask the questions if you have any questions, and trust yourself, trust your body. It's made to do this without anybody else telling you that you could do this. Your body already on its own can do this.
Beautifully said. Yes, we are here to love on you. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us for this vital conversation at Healthy Start. Our mission is to improve maternal and child health while reducing birth outcomes and infant mortality in Allegheny County. We hold these conversations monthly, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future. For lactation support, remember to call our latch line. It's 412-545-2022, option one, available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Have a good one, everyone. See you soon.